Hi class, this is Professor Adamson. This is the final mini lecture that we have before the midterm. You guys, those of you who watch all these videos are great. I appreciate you so much. We've got a lot to get through in a short amount of time. The last thing I want to talk about today are some objective tests that we do as audiologists. The last video focused on subjective tests. Those are tests that we do on normally cognitively functioning adults. So, adults that are not in the MRDD category. And older children that are probably about ages 4 and up, like kids that can pretty much follow instructions, if that makes sense. Generally, we say school-age children, which would be, pre-K, kindergarten, and up. But once again, that have normal cognition. The objective tests that we do are tests that don't require the patient's response. So an objective test could include otoscopy because, we're just looking into the patient's ear. We're not asking them anything about their ear. But the main objective test that we do is what's called tympanometry. I'm going to show you here. I'm at work right now. It's Monday, October 26th, I believe. It's nice and rainy out. I've got just a few minutes. What we do with tympanometry is we put, this is hard to see, but we put 200 decapascals of pressure into the ear. Take those 200 decapascals of pressure out of the ear, and then we suck out even further. So we go from 200 plus to normal environmental pressure to 200 minus. Now what we are doing by doing that, sorry, I'm trying to get this tip on while I talk to you. What we're doing while we do that is we are seeing how the eardrum moves. Now I'm going to put this in right here. I hear a hum. And do you see that peak that got made right there? That's a normal tympanogram. That means we put the 200 decapascals of pressure in, and at 0 atmospheric pressure, the tympanic membrane was at its most compliant, meaning that the tympanic membrane was the most vibratory, allowed for the most energy to go through it at 0. If we have a tympanometric peak that looks like that, more or less centered around 1 and 1.5 in terms of milliliters on this axis and more or less at 0 on this axis, we have a normal tympanogram. What that means is that we know there is no fluid or gunk in this space, in the middle ear space. Think about it. If we put 200 decapascals of pressure into the ear canal and it doesn't move, that's because the space is filled up with fluid. Now, we have one of 5 different tympanograms that you can get. This question is on the midterm, so be sure that you pay attention to this part. I'm going to show you in the slideshow the best way to remember these. There's a gentleman by the name of, well, you don't need to know it, but way back in the day, they categorized these by type A, type B, type C, type A sub S, type A sub D, and type D. That's fine if you want to think about it that way, but I like to think of them maybe more by their adjectives, which would be A, which is normal, B, which is flat, C, which is retracted, A sub D, which is basically a hypermobile tymp, and then A sub S, which is restricted. This is one of the slides. It's probably about the 10th or 12th slide under Unit 3, objective tests. The 5 different types of tympanograms we can get. A, normal. B, flat. If we have a flat tympanogram, that means we get a flat line. What does that mean? It means that the space is filled up with fluid. The middle ear space is filled up with fluid. That's what a type B, a flat tympanogram is. What would that look like when we do our tympanogram? It would look something like this. Okay? That top one, we get a flat line. Another way of thinking of that is we put the sound and the pressure in, the eardrum doesn't really move. Basically, the acoustic energy that's supposed to turn into mechanical energy as it hits the eardrum stops. It hits a brick wall. It doesn't move. We can also get what's called a type C, a retracted tymp. That's what's here at the bottom, where it does indeed have a peak, but the peak comes at a place of negative pressure, meaning that the eustachian tube, this tube that connects the ear and throat is probably clogged. The eardrum moves, but it moves in a negative pressure situation, meaning that some of the stuff is like sucked out of the space because we've got a vacuum going on here. This tube isn't opening up the way that it should. Type C tympanograms, retracted tympanograms, generally mean that either an ear infection is coming or an ear infection is going away. I'm just going to show them to you on here because I think it's the easiest. These slides are all on the slideshow, but you can see type A, the normal one, is there at the top left. Type B, flat, is the top center. Type C, retracted, is the top right. And then we have two other ones. We have a restricted eardrum, that the eardrum is indeed moving, but it's not moving as much as it should. And then a very floppy eardrum, that's the bottom right. A hypermobile Tymp. What that might mean is that this set of bones that connects the eardrum to the inner ear basically maybe just isn't there anymore. Maybe the ligaments have fallen. Maybe the bones themselves aren't working anymore. Basically, the eardrum's kind of moving too much. So type A, eardrum's moving normally. Type B, flat, the eardrum's not moving. Type C, the eardrum's moving, but in a negative pressure situation. Type A sub S, which is restricted, the eardrum's moving, but not as much as it should. And type A sub D, hypermobile, the eardrum is moving, but it's moving too much. All of those tympanometric findings are a part of differential diagnosis. And generally, we're going to see a normal tympanogram with normal hearing or sensory neural hearing losses. Generally, we will see an abnormal tympanogram with conductive or mixed hearing losses, okay? One other objective test that we have at our disposal are otoacoustic emissions. These are emissions. Basically, it's this equipment. It's very easy. We've got lots of different types of otoacoustic emissions that we can use. The main one that we use is what's called transient evoked otoacoustic emissions, TEOAEs, and that is basically what we use for the newborn hearing screening. During the height of the COVID pandemic, I was using TEOAEs at Wakefield Hospital, basically doing all the newborn hearing screenings there, using that. What TEOAEs are, very soft sounds go into the ear canal, very soft clicks, and if the cochlea is hearing normally, it will echo back clicks via the outer hair cells within the cochlea. Basically, it's kind of like the ear is singing along with itself. A normal or near normal ear will do that. An ear with hearing loss will not do that. So that's what that is, TEOAEs. We use OAEs a lot on babies. We use OAEs a lot on people for whom we think might be faking it. I use OAEs a lot on, those doggone teenagers that come in and say they're deaf, and then I do the OAEs on them, and it says that they have present OAEs. So what does that tell you? So OAEs are good for that. One other objective test that we have that I want to tell you about is the auditory brainstem response. The auditory brainstem response is what we will do if we get OAEs that are absent on a baby for the newborn hearing screening. We set the baby up with a bunch of electrodes. We put clicks into the ears, and we are looking for an electrical waveform response that looks something like that on the bottom, okay? We want to see wave 1, wave 2, 3, 4, and 5 all happen with certain amplitudes and certain what are called latencies. They basically have that peak at a certain amount of milliseconds from the time that the signal is presented till the time that we see the electrical response. So basically what ABR is putting loud clicks into the ear, and we're measuring the brainstem's response to that electrically. We're putting electrodes on and measuring the electrical response. Think about it. If this organ was not working, we wouldn't be sending an electrical signal to the brain. Therefore, the brainstem wouldn't be revealed as showing any electrical signal. And ABR is sort of the gold standard for differential diagnosis of hearing loss amongst babies, okay? So what will happen for a newborn hearing screening, the baby will do OAEs and maybe tympanometry. If we see a flat tymp, like the eardrum's not moving, and absent OAEs, we will generally assume on the baby it's because there's fluid in the middle ear space. If we see mobile tympanometry and absent OAEs, that's when we start to worry that maybe it is indeed a hearing loss. That baby we will refer for an auditory brainstem response and do the whole rigmarole. The ABR test lasts about 2 hours, and it can be a little bit tough getting newborn babies to sit still for that long, as those of you who are parents know. If we don't see that characteristic waveform for the ABR response, we will make the clicks go louder and louder, or softer and softer, I guess is the case. Maybe vary up the clicks to see if, what parts of the cochlea basically are providing a response to the brain. Because sometimes we will see like a sloping hearing loss where the baby's hearing maybe fine at 500 hertz with those clicks, but we get to 2000 hertz and the baby isn't doing so well there anymore. Okay, so that's basically it for the 3 main objective tests that we do. We do more than that. We do acoustic reflexes. We do a whole bunch more, but those are the main ones that I need you to get basically for the midterm. Now, 2 other quick things that I want to tell you about because we didn't get a chance to talk to them too much are what are called VRA and play audiometry. I'm going to show you real quick here. The play audiometry is right here. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but what I can do is out of this speaker right here, speak to the child and say, hello, hello, how are you, bye-bye. And the child's looking. What is that? Hello, how are you, baby, bye-bye. What is it? What happened? The baby's looking around. Then I will press the button on the audiometer, say, hello, baby, and if the baby turns and looks, then I will reward him or her with the visual stimulus, okay? We do not want to do it at the exact same time the entire time because we don't know if the baby's responding to the visual stimulus. By pairing them together, pairing them, we get almost like a Pavlov's dog sort of response. The baby turns expecting the visual stimulus, but the baby has indeed turned for the auditory stimulus in anticipation of the visual stimulus, okay? Now, babies aren't really famous for their cooperation, but if we can get the babies to wear the headphones and get them to turn their head to the right for the right ones and turn their head to the left for the left ones, we've got a lot of information. But as you know, babies oftentimes won't let you wear headphones. Sometimes we can only get information for one ear. We can also do that for pure tones, where we're over here saying beep, 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 beep at 1000 hertz and the baby looks. Turn the volume down to 40 decibels. Beep, 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 beep. Baby still looks. Go down to 30 decibels. Beep, 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 beep. Baby doesn't look. Go up to 35 decibels. Beep, 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 beep. Baby looks. We reward the baby, etc., etc. I explained that very quickly, so hopefully you sort of got the gist of it. Last but not least we have is what's called play audiometry. Okay, play audiometry basically involves a portable audiometer, which I'm going to show you right here. These old gals are very old, but they still work. You know a school audiologist when you see them carry around one of these things like it's their little accessory. If they have a audiologist action figure, their accessory is this portable audiometer. Now, with play audiometry, I've got the portable audiometer here. I've got the child here, and I put the headphones onto the child, and I conditioned the child at, let's say, maybe 2000 hertz in the left ear, and I'll say to the child, beep, 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 and with my hand, I'll put the ring onto the, whatever this thing is, the red dowel, and a nice loud thing. Tweet, 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 tweet. Okay, and I'll say, do you want to try it by yourself? Okay. Tweet, 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 tweet. And sometimes the child will look at you like, should I put it on? That's a response, right? If the child hears it, they're going to put it on. But you've got to keep working with them until they get it, till they understand the game. You just keep going softer and softer with the staircase method. Tweet, 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 tweet. Tweet, 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 till they don't hear it anymore. And then once again, go up 5 decibels. Play audiometry is going to be best for children who are sort of what you might consider regular toddler age, from about 2.5 till about 3.5, 4, okay? It isn't very exciting for very long, so you have to kind of keep it moving. You may have to vary up the toys that you use with the kids. You just need to keep it moving. The key to pediatrics is really just to keep things moving. I love working with kids for that reason, because I feel like if you really keep after it, you can really get some good information. Boy, I got through that rather fast. It was only 15 minutes and 30 seconds, but I'm sure that's fine with you. Please, please, please email me with questions. I plan to drop the midterm this week, Friday, and I'll probably give you till about midnight the night Saturday, which is Halloween. I know, it's just the way the dates fell. Let's see, there was something else I can say. YouTube projects are due. Most of you have turned them in.